On this episode of Current, we're moving past the design process and we're gonna meet up with the guys from SMCO, take a look at some of the parts they're developing with us, and start moving on the actual build. So let's get it.
No, I'm sturdy like a mini rocket. Skin clear, still look young. Andy Miller knockers, money in my pocket. Don't call me a money pocket. Engine get to rocket. It sound like a thunder rocket, yeah.
So as you guys can see, LiveWire being fully electric, these gas tanks are no longer gas tanks, they're more covers. So we're gonna prototype a new material, which is Bcomp. Flax fiber that is fully sustainable. So it's cool to be able to incorporate something that's earth conscious and at the same time aligns with what LiveWire is all about. I think we're so used to seeing carbon fiber that it's cool to be able to prototype something that is not really common.
Yeah, you could use carbon fiber or you could use fiberglass, but now there's this new material that Bcomp has. In the racing world, you'd see it on crazy race cars. We're working with Bcomp to develop this stuff and to be able to integrate it into the live wires and have something that is not just plastic, fiberglass, or carbon fiber. Having another new thing that we can share with the world.
You've obviously developed carbon fiber.
Yeah.
John from the LiveWire headquarters and all of us have been so excited about this Bcomp material.
It comes in a big roll. It's basically pre-impregnated light carbon. So you have like a 60-inch roll that is like a composite material of like fabric.
Okay.
And it comes together and it has the resin impregnated in it now, and you use it in the autoclave in a mold under pressure, and you bake it, you heat it, and it kind of cures that way, and you take it out. And that's kind of the challenge now. Like, you just have like a couple things that may differ from what carbon is doing, but I think it's a learning curve that we're getting used to.
It's all part of innovation. Like if there were no challenges, I think that innovation would be a lot easier and it would be a lot more common.
I'm looking forward to seeing like a full,
just like a full
piece come out of the mold.
Something bigger than just this 3-inch square. Dude, that hurts so bad. So this is my first look at the Bcomp panels. I'm here with half of SMCO, which is Shaun. Shaun's gonna kind of walk me through like the difficulties and the triumphs of making these molds. So Shaun, what was kind of like the highlight of like the ease or maybe even the battle making these?
There were definitely some challenges in trying to figure out the mold and the process for the Bcomp. It's pretty similar and spot on to what the carbon fiber process is. Minor changes because it's a plant-based material, and the resin's kind of all that. It doesn't really stick in the mold, so little adjustments to the mold had to be made, but other than that, it was pretty straightforward, just like the carbon.
This is, how would you explain it? Top tier monoblock.
I think when you go racing and you go fast and you do everything that like at the top level of anything, you make something that's fast. This is already really fast. So if it's really fast and it looks cool, what can you do? You just got to make it better. And so you have good brakes, good suspension, and being able to get nickel plated calipers that are like monoblocked and machined out of one piece, you get the best of the best. Nothing's gonna flex. Obviously, Brembo is a household name in racing and performance, but going the top shelf and getting the nicest calipers that you could for this, I think that's best case scenario.
When you go to the brakes, like that was the, when you sent me 3 different options, I told you one of the biggest things I was looking for was a nickel brake. And then there was, the mid-tier one, and then there's this full monoblock one that's excessive. But I think when you have something like that, it's necessary. You have this top-of-the-line brake with this top-of-the-line EV bike. It totally makes sense.
You have a massive big front rotor on there that's a lot larger than it's been. You get a larger diameter of braking. It works so well, and it pairs really nice with a super nice caliper. At the end of the day, it's all for something.
I think that's the biggest thing is we can stylize something all day, but if you really know what's there and you really dig deep past the aesthetic, you know that there is performance gain and there is things that make the bike better and not just look better.
Correct.
One of the first things when I looked at this was stance, and I think that's probably one of the first biggest things that you'll see when you first approach the bike is the way it sits. So here in a silhouette that we created was lowering the front and the rear suspension. It kind of just gives it more of a beefy kind of just like track stance. So I think that will be definitely one of the biggest changes that you see from the natural eye.
Riding the bikes on the track with mid controls is great. You have more upright, comfortable, not aggressive. Yeah. We wanted to change that and make it more aggressive. And if you bring that, you can compare that and see that the foot positioning is going to be like, if you lined it up there, it's further back, it's higher up.
Almost 5 inches farther back.
And you have more ground clearance in going into it, but being able to have the adjustability, it just kind of makes it more catered to you. You know, that wasn't available, no one had it, so we had to do it.
On my initial ride, I felt that like very, very centered ride of just like comfortability. When you're really on it, it wants to bring your body forward, but your feet almost restrict that part, and I think that's where it kind of gets you into a sportier mode and gets you more into, you know, like you referenced it, it's more of an attack mode, a more laid down aerodynamic feel. So for these, I mean, the prototypes or even the final versions I've seen, you know, I opted for a lot of the bikes I build, I choose black for a lot of the components. So I think you mentioned earlier when we were even kind of placing the order, you haven't done a color set yet.
Yeah, this is the first black, these are the first black sets coming together. We went opposite. On the raw, we have black etched logos, which you don't really see black etching on raw aluminum anyway. So it kind of came out neat, and we're you know, we're stoked to get together and give you a couple sets of these that will kind of put the bike real together and give you a good seating position.
Yeah, and here we have some early mood board kind of mock-ups that Dr. Wu and I threw back and forth together. Very heavy on the aero disc, and I think that speaks on kind of this futuristic vintage feel of how that incorporates that. When you see that, it makes you feel a futuristic way, but at the same time, you know, maybe we can incorporate a vintage feel with the material or even the kind of design we do on the wheel. I think one of the biggest things, you know, in this rear section is perfecting that aero disc. I really vision this like aero disc or this aero lip that's either out of aluminum or a composite material to match whatever we do. Seeing those drawings, what are your thoughts on material and like how you think we can kind of like lay those out and mount those?
If we went through the lip and bolted to machine brackets that kind of would basically just live here, like if you had like something to match the contour, like a machine piece.
And that's where they do these mounting
holes. Then you could bolt straight through there to these little blocks that basically are here, or they could just be welded to the face.
My intention of design is like, I don't necessarily, you know, we can call it an aero disc, and I think when you think disc, you think of the whole wheel being all one piece.
But just having that
almost
detail.
Like it's like an aero lip, if you want to call it that. And I want these, you know, the windows that we have made there, whatever color, or if we go with like a polish or a raw on this wheel, is I want those windows to be able to peek through and kind of create that contrast of like, if this lip is maybe Bcomp, it'd be cool if you know, if this wheel's like pink inside and you see through this Bcomp material and you see that highlighter pink.
I think that'd be super cool.
And I mean, I love the design of the stock wheel. When it's black, it hides so many of these lines that I think LiveWire did a really good job in like making this cool wheel. So I think once we have that like lip with those windows that shine through in a very pop color or a neutral color with a lip that's a pop color, you're definitely gonna think the wheel isn't stock, which I mean isn't necessarily the goal, but I think it's gonna complement their design that they already created.
Yeah, I think it's gonna come out really neat.
So, you know, we started off with me designing that render on the computer and sending it to you guys. So maybe walk me through like what that process is on your end to take it from my digital render to an actual physical product.
I basically built a 3D model of the wheel itself, and then from that point can model and try to find the concept to make your vision come to life, you know what I mean? We went from, you know, how we're gonna attach it to the wheel itself, and then just getting it there so it would not only be aesthetically pleasing, but it would also be functional, because that's like a big part of the thing is like a lot of the bikes that, you know, that they're just designer made, maybe some of the stuff isn't meant to be used or ridden, but that was something that was really important for us, was to make it, to realize your vision, but also to have it be an actual functional part. And you know, that's kind of, this is where we ended up.
It's really what I had envisioned, and you guys really executed it. And to see that it's functional, to see that it makes sense, and you know, to me it's so aesthetically pleasing. Like I can't wait to mess with wheel color and be able to dictate around this, and it's just a fun piece. And I mean, I'm stoked. Like you guys really did a good job. So I mean, these are all amazing pieces. Thank you so much for making this all come to life, and can't wait to get back to the current studio, put this all together, and see how it looks.